I congratulate for being here. I'm sure that session that I have for okay. So okay, I don't have slides. Okay. So as you know, I am Anand Srivas, and I know that some of you were interviewed by me, and must have had a very difficult experience. But believe me, in real life, I'm not as intimidating as a person as I was in the interview. So, so really, I mean, first of all, apologies if I was rude, but I know through this process you are here, and I congratulate for being here. I'm sure that you have a great career at NISM. So today's session that I have for is issue of securities by a company, so regulation of issuer, and then we'll discuss from move on to intermediaries. And before I start today's session, I have not prepared a PowerPoint. One of the reasons why I don't prepare a PowerPoint is my professor told me once, he gave a dialogue that he believes in powerful presentations, but not PowerPoint presentations. So I don't have PowerPoint presentations ever in my class. Okay. Let me make it very clear that there are some ground rules. The first ground rule that I have is that there is no ground rule. Okay. So you are free to ask me any questions, anything. We are like colleagues, friends. Okay, you can interact with me. You can ask as many as questions you want. I don't know what background you all come from. I think some are from national law universities, some are from traditional law universities. My purpose for this lecture is not to give you what is already there in the law. We all know what is there in the law. You all can go and read what is there in the law. Okay. My purpose to you or explain you is that to make you think. Okay. That's the purpose that I have. And if I can make you think over these 2 hours, I think my job will be successful. I'm not here to make sure that you are absolutely reading the sections and you are on your sections are on fingertips. All of that is not my concern. My concern is to make sure that you are having a mind which is thinking and you are able to apply the thought process to realities. Okay, that's the purpose with which I'm going to start the lecture now. So let me first ask you, and this is a very basic question anyone would ask you here at NISM, and I would want to understand what you understand by public companies, because from there we go on and discuss the regulations when it comes to issuer. What do you understand by public companies?
Companies other than private companies, like private companies, transfer of shares are restricted. In public companies, transfer of shares are not restricted, and there is a difference between number of members. There can be infinite number of members. Then there can be difference between compliance costs, because there are a lot of compliance which public company has to do.
Okay.
There are also a public company made in distribution.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? That's a very good idea. What's your name? Prachit. That's a very good opener. Anybody else would want to state anything else? He's missed out on one point.
Shares can be held by members of the public as well. It's a select number of people.
Okay, so shares can be held by public. You're still missing out on something.
It restricts the members to subscribe. It restricts the public.
He has already said that. He has already said that.
So raising of funds.
Yeah, raising of funds. What exactly?
So
What?
raising of funds by the public company can also be by an IPO or FPO, unlike a private company.
Okay. So if you
It
read the Companies Act and you read the definition of private company, the third part says that there is a prohibition on private companies from subscribing to the securities of the issuer, right? And that is very much clear, right? So now this um, essence of being a public company, that you have transferability of shares and then you are prohibited from subscribing or issuing the shares to public as a private company, makes the company private company as a closed door company, right? We all know that unless the articles of association permits someone to come inside the company, someone can't come, right? Which in a sense means that the members of the company rules the company, right? It's a closed door company. Do you watch Shark Tank? How many of you watch Shark Tank? Three of you.
So
Okay.
yesterday was the first show, I guess.
Sorry.
Yesterday was the first show, I guess.
Okay. Okay. That must be Indian version. Okay. So I was talking about the other version that is there. Okay. So if you see Shark Tank, okay, and if you see few episodes of Shark Tank, what you will realize is that there are private investors. There are someone who's pitching the idea. Okay, just say for example, someone is pitching an idea of something like Neiman shoes. You know Neiman shoes?
Yes.
What is that?
Recycled shoes.
Recycled shoes, something which is very innovative, right? So, say for example, someone is pitching an idea as to make Neiman shoes. An investor is ready and willing to invest into the company, right? Now, the other person is convincing the investor whether he wants to stay in the company or not. The problem that happens is that while the negotiation takes place between these parties, the negotiations are on shares, are on debentures, are on loans. If you look at the terms there, you will realize that someone would want to invest in these ways. One of the reasons why that happens is because private companies are riskier businesses. Okay. So, say for example, I am running a Neiman shoes business. Okay. And I want you, all of you, to invest into my company. Okay. And if the company doesn't do well, you're done because there is no market for you. You can't transfer the shares. It's very difficult to transfer the shares. Nobody is going to buy a share of a private company which is into losses unless someone is very much interested into the assets of the company in some or the other way. So that's the concept of being in a private company. But being in a public company gives you a lot of advantages. One being that you are listed, okay, which means that you can transfer the shares, you have enough liquidity, okay, all of that. Now, the question here is when a listed company invests, when a person invests into a listed company, he looks at many parameters before investment. It's like going and buying a car, okay? And when you go and buy a car, obviously you do the due diligence in terms of the engine, you do the due diligence in terms of various factors, mileage, and other things. Similarly, if someone invest and hard-earned money, obviously he's going to do due diligence on those kind of companies. So what happens is in case of a public company, they are made more accountable. One of the reasons why they are made accountable is the regulator himself. Okay, and we all know the regulator, right? What is the name of the regulator? SEBI, right? So we are here at the campus of SEBI and discussing SEBI regulations. We are going to critique the SEBI regulations. Okay, so SEBI regulates these listed companies. One of the primary reason why SEBI regulates these listed companies is that they want to make sure that those who are investing into they are investing hard-earned money, are at least given a fair chance. Okay, does SEBI in any way guarantees profit to anyone? What does it guarantee?
Protection to the investor.
The
Protection
interest
to
of
the investor.
the investors, yes, sir.
Okay, what else?
Development of the market.
Development of the market. Perfect. development of the market, regulation of the market, protection of investors. That's an object of SEBI, right? But how does SEBI do that? Okay, SEBI has a mechanism under Section 11 of the SEBI Act. Does anyone know what Section 11?
Regulate the functioning of stockbrokers.
It is power of SEBI to issue measures. Okay, measures can be in many ways. If you go to the SEBI website, you will get different measures. Okay, one of the measures is regulations. Okay, and SEBI is authorized under the SEBI Act, and SEBI Act has been made by the Parliament to look at different kinds of regulations, to look at different kinds of securities and regulate them. Okay, there can be different kinds of securities you must be studying in your companies at lectures, so I don't have to give background to that. The point that I'm making here is that the listed companies are accountable, they have to be transparent, okay, because the money that is involved is of people. Now this is one part. Another part is the purpose for which SEBI regulates the listed company is also the purpose with which RBI regulates the bank. Okay, because the function of a stock market. Can anyone tell me today? I think in today's newspaper there was the headline that the Sensex and the other index is falling by I think 1,200 points or something. So, what is the object or what is the purpose of a stock exchange?
Providing secondary markets.
Providing secondary market. That's good. Very good. What else?
Liquidity, price discovery.
Liquidity, price discovery. Very good.
Transferability of.
Absolutely. What else?
It is also a frontline regulator of the intermediaries.
Okay. Does in any way stock exchanges also have some sort of responsibility towards the economy? Because if you look at different
Definitely, so
scams,
when people are adding in their money, so the funding is going to different listed companies, and henceforth they're like carrying on the business. So directly or indirectly, they are linked up with the economy.
yeah. Obviously, the object of the SEBI Act does not provide for any of these three things, but definitely financial stability of the country, some or the other, is also dependent upon the functioning of the stock exchange. I'm not saying that they are entirely dependent, okay, but 10% or 20% of which might be dependent on the stock exchanges functioning. So it is very important that these stock exchanges are properly regulated, because since the listed companies are dependent on them, their transferabilities are dependent on them, their market capitalization is also dependent on the stock exchanges. All of that matters a lot. Okay, so here comes the section 24. If you can just take the section 24 out from the act itself here. Here it is. So section 24, have you gone through section 24 in your Companies Act lecture? So section 24 clearly says that SEBI regulates issue and transfer of securities. It regulates non-payment of dividend by listed companies or those companies which intend to get their securities listed. Now, we need to understand here as to why these two things are there: listed companies and those which intend to get their securities listed. What do you understand by companies which intend to get their securities listed? Unlisted company. Does all unlisted companies intend to get their securities listed? Okay. And where this comes from, where this is provided, is there anything that provides for this? Where is the interpretation coming from? There has to be authority that you be citing.